Hello and welcome to a Christmassy, diminishing returns.
That's Halloween.
I've only got so many noises that I can do, Alan. That is
Ho,
of course.
ho,
That is of course everybody's least favourite Grinchy poo, Alan Turing.
Bah humbug.
And
That's Scrooge, not the Grinch.
and also joining us this week is the one, the only, Mr. Calvin M. Dyson.
Do I not get a comparison to anything? I thought you were going to be like the George Bailey of...
The guy the guy who drives the limo in Die Hard of Diminishing Returns. Calvin M. Dyson.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that.
What's his name?
Argyle.
That's it. Brilliant.
Yep, that's me. And who are you?
Oh, and I'm Sol, and I'm very much the John McClane of this piece. Bruce Willis.
No, you're the coked up annoying guy.
Yeah, shot in the face like halfway through, right?
So we're doing Die Hard. Why are we doing Die Hard? I'm really resentful about this decision. I don't like that we're contributing towards this whole just culture of people making a big deal out of Die Hard being a Christmas film. I saw an advert on Twitter today, one of those paid promotion things where Sky are like promoting their Christmas movie channel with Die Hard, and it's like, oh, Die Hard, and that's when you know it's not cool anymore, when corporations of,
it's never been like I don't know why it's like I'm sort of in agreement with you. I hate that it's become a controversial thing. Like, as far as I was concerned, Die Hard was just a Christmas film and that was the end of it, and no one took any issue with that. And like a few years ago, people started making a big thing out of Die Hard's a Christmas film. No, it's not a Christmas film. Meh, 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 meh. And it's like, well, obviously it is. Stop being a prick. Let's move on with our lives and just enjoy the Christmas films.
Obviously it's not.
This is what I mean. I knew someone was going to do it.
No, right, okay, I was going to pretend that I cared, but I don't. But okay, I guess it's down to the definition of what is a Christmas film. This is a film that is set at Christmas.
Arbitrary,
that is undoubted.
I do think Die Hard is far, far more of a Christmas film than many things that are often... You know, we just did a thing at work where all the different departments had to decorate their areas in the theme of different films. Now, Die Hard was obviously amongst them, and it was great. They had a dead body on a chair with "Now I have a machine gun too, ho ho ho" written on it and stuff like that. Another department got Frozen. Now, if we're going to kick off about what is and isn't a Christmas film, like, can we please eliminate that shit? It's a film with snow in it.
That's not a Christmas film in any regard.
No, it's not.
At least Die Hard has Christmas elements in it.
But anyway, like I think Die Hard is as much a Christmas film as any like proper Christmas film. It's about Christmas as much as anything. It's got like family as a strong running theme, like love for one another, blah 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 blah. It's about this guy trying to, reconcile with his estranged wife and ultimately his family.
It's about women knowing their
That's
place
the true
and giving up
Christmas.
their job. And
Christmas permeates through the whole thing. It's far more than just, it happens to be set at Christmas.
No, I don't think so.
It factors into the plot. It's a work Christmas party. It's
Yeah, but like,
the
okay,
terrorists choose
so
Christmas because they know it's going to be, people are off their guard.
that's complete speculation on your part. They never say that. If you took Christmas out of this film and it's set, a big works party, and he's coming over to visit his family or whatever, for just because he hasn't seen them, it would make no difference to the actual film. The fact that it's Christmas is a plot device. It's not.
Yeah, but the fact that it's
not
Christmas
reliant
is a
on that
plot
as a-
device in The Nightmare Before Christmas or in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, it's just a MacGuffin for that character to like do rob a town or have a midlife crisis or what have you. It's always just like a plot device if it's used at all.
similar to Black Christmas. It's an excuse to get the sorority girls out of the house. And
Exactly. I don't think you can really, short of making the story of Christ, I don't think
I'm not. I don't think I would say Black Christmas is a Christmas.
See, then that's just Alan being a knob. Like, that's what this comes down to.
See, I don't.
You've got to have, okay, to be a Christmas film, it's got to have a Santa.
There is a Santa in this film.
Okay, all right. Trading Places is a Christmas film.
Oh, don't even stop it now, Alan. It's like barely even set Christmas, is it? Trading Places, from what I remember, it's like
He's wandering
like
around
20
in a
minutes
Santa
set
suit.
at Christmas.
Yeah. What do you want?
Fuck's sake.
What Alan's doing is very irritating, but there's
Yeah.
something even more irritating about these die-hard Christmas people, and it's the people who bait people into having a conversation about it just so that they can, know it. And we went to university with a few, and I bet there are a few listening to this episode right now. These people are everywhere, where it's like they just bring up out of nowhere, oh, what's your favourite Christmas film? And you're like, oh, It's a Wonderful Life, or something like that. And they're like, oh, my favourite Christmas film is Die Hard. And they just...
Because I'm so cool and alternative.
Exactly, and they're just waiting for that uninformed person to be like, oh, that's not a Christmas film, because a lot of people would probably forget that this is even set at Christmas. It's not a big part of it, really.
I don't know about that. To be fair, Calvin, don't get too high and mighty, because I remember going to watch Toy Story in 3D at the cinema with you in about 2009 or early 2010.
I don't know where this is going.
And you wrote on Facebook a status, I'm so excited, so looking forward to seeing Toy Story 3D later on. And you said to me, oh, I've put a status on Facebook about Toy Story 3D, and I can't wait, because I know a load of people are going to go, oh, the new Toy Story 3. Oh, how is it? And I'll get to go, no, you idiot, Toy Story 3D, the first one in 3D, you idiot.
I think I was probably making fun of that. I think it was an ironic thing that I was doing.
I'm not convinced, because someone did take your bait and you did tell them what was what. You did give them the business, so... Anyway,
we all grow and learn.
Anyway, Die Hard is returning to cinemas in 11 days' time, as of recording this. So just in, I think, Christmas Eve is when it's...
Oh, just to be clear, we're in traditional sense, we are recording this Christmas special in August. so it's coming out in sort of 27th of August.
Can you believe this heat wave?
I've booked myself a ticket for it, so I haven't bothered rewatching the film. Because I didn't want to spoil... Because I can only watch it like once a year. I don't want to... Twice a year is a bit much. Because this is a film I've watched far, far, far more than many. Because it has become a little tradition for me, or at least it did for a while, until I kind of got sick of the whole Die Hard on Christmas controversy and didn't bother with it quite so much. But anyway, my point is I've got it on in the background now with the volume down. I started it when we started recording, and John McClane's just turned up to Nakatomi Plaza. He's putting the name in on the computer. She's not got her name down as McClane.
Hey, do you know what her name is, though?
De Janeiro or something? Janeiro?
Holly?
Oh, Christmas.
Christmas, eh?
Eh? Yeah. I mean, put it this way, just going quickly back to the debate, people who made the film have started weighing in recently, and it made a load of headlines because Bruce Willis weighed in and said Die Hard isn't a Christmas film. But the writer of the film, whose name I forget, weighed in and said, no, it is a Christmas film. And if anyone has ever listened to Bruce Willis talk about the Die Hard franchise, or has seen A Good Day to Die Hard, that should tell you everything you need to know about Bruce Willis's grasp on, everything to do with Die Hard, and how much you should value his opinions on this sort of thing. On the other hand, you have the writer of one of the sort of best examples of a Hollywood screenplay ever written. So yeah, I mean, I know whose side I'm on, put it that way.
Well, I know whose name you can remember, and maybe that says a lot
does
about
it?
your loyalty. Yeah. Celebrity Talks. All right. But my I mean, I don't care, basically. but yeah, I don't find it very Christmassy. Like, that's my take on it. I think if you haven't seen this film for a couple of years, you forget that it's at Christmas. I don't think it's because it's not particularly relevant.
I don't know. What do you mean Christmassy, though? I mean,
like Christmas paraphernalia, basically, because they occasionally, like, he's singing, or he's humming carol or something, and yeah, it's like a Christmas party, but none of it is like relevant to the overall plot. You know, it's like it's like Halloween. They've had a film and they've gone, oh, shall we set it at Halloween? Yeah, all right.
But I think that is what the vast majority of Christmas films are. Like I say, short of making the story of Christ into a film.
Probably they are. Yeah,
and I don't know. Like I don't view Christmas as a genre being really anything more than superficial, because Christmas itself is completely arbitrary and superficial and doesn't really mean anything. So, you know.
When's this episode going up again? The 23rd?
Yeah.
December?
Yeah, I'll be out in the cinema watching Die Hard. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
30th anniversary re-release. Now, the big argument people
it
always...
wasn't released at Christmas.
I was about to say, the big argument people always make in favour of this not being a Christmas film is that it was released in the summer. To which I say...
But when was Jesus really born, eh?
Yeah, you know what else was released in the summer and not Christmas? Miracle on 34th Street, one of the classic Christmas films.
Really?
Yeah.
See, now that definitely is a Christmas film.
Yeah, a fantastic one. I'm talking about the original here from the 30s, the good one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the remake was released around Christmas as a marketing thing. Did I just say the 30s? I meant 1947.
It's all the same, isn't it?
Yeah. Black and white days. In fact, they released it in summer, and the trailer like basically couldn't give away anything to do with the film. Calvin, have you ever seen the trailer for that film?
I haven't.
It is so up your street. It is
Really?
the most honestly, I remember thinking of you when I watched it. It's just it's like the producer of the studio or something walking around Universal Pictures or whatever studio lot it is that made the film, and just sort of going,
Oh, nice.
"Oh, I hear there's this wonderful new film out soon called Miracle on 34th Street. Why, yes, there is. It's fantastic. Well, what's it about? Well, we ain't gonna tell you. You're gonna go
Matt
see
Stone and Trey Parker.
Won't work, it's no good. What do you make a trailer for? To give the public an idea of what kind of a picture to expect.
But, boss, we...
Hilarious, romantic, tender, exciting. Make up your minds. It can't be all of those things.
Mr. Schaefer, if you'd look at the picture...
I don't have to look at the picture. I know you're wrong. You've got to decide what kind of a picture this is. Make up your minds. Now go to work and fix it up. Hey, Rex. How are you?
Ed, how are you?
Good to see you. How's the ghost of Mrs. Muir?
It's pretty good, honey. How's New York?
Fine. Say, Rex, have you seen Miracle on 34th Street?
Yes, saw the preview. I've never heard laughs like it in the theater before.
Oh, is that right?
Don't miss it. I was crazy about it.
You really think we've got something, huh?
I don't know whether the women will like it, but it's a great man's picture. Well, it's nice to see you, Ed. Gotta get back to work.
Yeah. See you later.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ann Baxter, good to see you.
How are you?
I haven't seen you since the Academy Awards. Congratulations on winning that Oscar.
Thanks, Ed, very much.
Oh, say, Ann,
Yeah.
have you seen Miracle on 34th Street?
Have I? Ed, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I understand it's a pretty good comedy.
Comedy? Well, I suppose that's true. I had a million laughs, but the thing that got me were the tears in between. It's so tender and charming and warm. I don't know how the men are going to like it. It's a great woman's picture.
Is that so?
You go and see it.
That is the greatest picture I have ever made. And I've got the angle on the trailer. We've got to get across to the public that that picture has everything. Why, it's hilarious. It's romantic. It's tender. It's charming. It's delightful. It's exciting. And it's groovy.
Yes, Mr. Schaefer.
Now, I'll tell you what we do.
It reminded me of those old Alfred Hitchcock trailers where he didn't want to give anything away and he just talked to the camera for 2 minutes. It's very odd.
So, so obviously you've seen it before. Alan, had you?
Have I seen Die Hard before?
This is only the
Is that what
second
you're
time
asking
I'd
me?
seen it, so I'm just curious.
Funnily enough, when I watched it this time, and it's the first time I haven't seen it for a while, but this is the first time I've experienced this watching this film as far as I can remember. I did sort of think, I've watched this too much. Like it's kind of it had lost some of its luster for me because I was too familiar with it. I just couldn't get into it as much as I have in the past. Like I couldn't just lose myself in it. It was a bit like, oh, I've got to watch this again.
Yeah, well,
You know
that's
what I mean? It was a bit of a.
I did this as an annual tradition for maybe 5 years on the trot. and loved it, but then I kind of reached the point where it's like, yeah, I'm too familiar with this now, and I had the exact same thing, so I haven't watched it in a while. I see we're not like you, Calvin. We can't. I know you have like a standing appointment with all your favourite films, like once a year.
Yes, I'll be doing Black Christmas this weekend. Nightmare Before Christmas, Gremlins.
I don't even mean your Christmas films, so necessarily.
Oh.
You always say like, oh, Moonraker. Yes, no, I watch this one twice a year, and it's like going to the dentist. You just got it scheduled in.
Yeah. But this was probably the second time I've seen this film. The first time was probably about 15 years ago, something like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
We get quite a fresh perspective on it.
I suppose so, yeah.
It's going to be interesting for people listening to this after the edit, because it's going to truncate the running order of the film as I'm sort of talking about stuff that I'm watching whilst we're talking about it. But the terrorists have just come into reception. The terrorists are taking over the building. That's just started.
Well, it does have a good pace to start the movie. The action gets going pretty quickly, and it's very economical. Sol, you praised the screenwriting earlier on, and I don't think that can be faulted, really. It's incredibly well constructed. I mean, the first shot is what is it the guy says to Bruce Willis about, like, curling up his toes or something, and...
You want to know the secret to surviving air travel? After you get where you're going, take off your shoes and your socks. Then you walk around on the rug barefoot and make fists with your toes.
Fist with your toes?
I know, it sounds crazy. Trust me, I've been doing it for 9 years. Yes, sir, better than a shower and a hot cup of coffee.
Okay. Son of a bitch. Fists with your toes.
So obviously that's good setup that's going to come back later on.
Yeah.
80s screenplays are really good at that. Like Back to the Future obviously did a lot of that. But,
The thing about that is that obviously the only purpose of that is to get him barefoot for later on. But it is just not related to anything. Like, it's just like, oh, here's some little thing that I'm going to drop in. It's like when Q turns up with a gadget.
Well,
like, this might
a little
come in
bit
useful later.
No, I think there's...
I think it plays quite well.
Yeah,
I think
I
it comes
think
across
there's-
naturally as just a guy talking. So I think they get away with it.
I
But,
get what
yeah.
you're saying. I think there's more to it than just the complete, just set up and payoff. I think that, like, it sets up John McClane as someone who's not a fan of traveling, someone who isn't happy that he has to be traveling this instance. He's a what do you call it? Someone who likes to stay at home. So he's NYPD, and he's like, for fuck's sake, I've got to go to LA. Fuck this shit. And they're setting that up, that he's not happy with it. Then they're
He's not happy
making
with a
him
lot
more
of
of an
things.
underdog because he's barefoot the whole time, and it's just a nice little, endearing characteristic that he has to put up with. And then it gives the film an element of personality as well that kind of runs through it. So I get what you're saying, but I think there's slightly more to it than just that.
So have either of you seen a film called The Detective, Frank Sinatra, 1960s? Because this is part of my limited research of this film was to do with that, because apparently that film was adapted from, like, Die Hard is based on a book? Or maybe it was the previous book, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So a book was written about this detective.
John is making
and
balls with his feet on the carpet and smiling.
So this book was made about this detective on a case, and they made a film adaptation of it with Frank Sinatra in the lead. So then 20 years later, the writer of the novel, who I can't even remember the name of, he had written a sequel with the same character, and that is what they adapted into Die Hard. But obviously, they didn't try and connect it to that.
Yeah, I think the word adapted is used very, correctly there. My understanding is it's very loosely adapted.
Well, actually, from what I read, I understood it's quite similar.
Really?
In fact, basically...
Roderick Thorpe,
like,
by the way, is who you...
that's right. Yeah.
Good name.
The main difference is that they've... the character in the book is quite a lot older, and so the person he's going to visit is his daughter, and her grandkids are there. But The other major difference is that the terrorists are actually terrorists, not robbers, which they turn out to be in this. Now, there's a reason. The reason for that, from what I understand from the filmmaker's point of view, from like John McTiernan, was because he felt that the robbers, you could have a bit more fun with them and kind of like keep it a bit lighter. Whereas if it's terrorism, it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was all a bit too heavy. So they changed it around like that. So then you could have a bit more fun with them. You could kind of get on their level a little bit more, and they still get their comeuppance in the end. But yeah, from what I understand, a lot of the stuff is there. For example, in the book, when he has to wrap the fire hose around himself and jump off the roof and all that, that's in the book. The stuff with his bare feet, that's all in the book. The other major difference, I believe, was that the daughter in the book, which was sort of translated to the wife in the film, she dies at the end.
Oh.
But also, it's kind of set up that we get this idea that this company is up to no good, and the terrorists are kind of targeting them because they're like doing shady deals and stuff, and they're trying to expose them, and that she is in on it in some way. So she's kind of she's not the bad guy, but she's done enough bad things that she ends up dying, and it's kind of justified within the story.
That's interesting.
But that dies where she dies because when the Hans Gruber equivalent in the book goes out of the window, he grabs hold of her and pulls her out. And so obviously in the film, they manage to save her. But it's the same setup. The thing with the gun taped on his back, that's in the book. Yeah, a lot of it was there really from what I read.
Interesting.
And I was reading about this because I watched The Detective the other day.
Oh.
Because I was reading about the film and the research, and I thought, fuck it, I'll watch it. What else have I got to do with my life?
How is it?
It was, it's not a great film, but it was very interesting because it's essentially about this cop on a case, pretty standard detective stuff. But the film was very unlike what I was expecting. It's so raw. It's about, and this was in 1968. But the beginning of it is he goes into this house. It's a murder scene. This guy's been killed, and the guy who's been killed. First of all, he walks in and he's like going, "Oh yeah, check this. The blood splatter here. There's some semen stains on the bed. Let's get them checked out." And I was like, I don't know when was the first time semen stains was said in a film, because I can't imagine it's like a lot before 1968. So even that jumped out at me straight away. It was like a little bit too real for the 60s. Anyway, so the character who gets killed is a homosexual. And so then it all becomes a part of this kind of underground homosexual world that is going on in, I don't know where it was set, actually. Can't remember. And then we get this other side story about him and his wife, the detective and his wife. And the wife, she eventually kind of confesses that she has this urge to just go and sleep with strangers because he keeps finding her with men, and then so she's cheating on him all the time, and she's sort of got this. She's just like she can't really explain it, like a psychological thing where she just has to go and fuck strangers, and it's not like done with innuendo particularly. It's all really kind of out there, and then there's all this. They get in, like, all the other policemen are like really homophobic and stuff, and I imagine that's quite in keeping with the 60s in real life. But then the main character isn't. He's a lot more sympathetic, and that seemed quite forward thinking as well for 1968. So it was very, very odd. It's kind of really interesting film to watch as from that period. Not an amazing film. The plot has like these two big chunks. Like one story that finishes and then another story that starts, and they come together at the end, but it's so obvious they're going to come together because there's be no other reason to have them. That when they kind of drag out this, oh, guess what? They're coming together storyline. It's like, oh yeah, okay. And the acting's sort of it actually reminded me, Calvin, of Hitchcock. It felt like someone trying to do Hitchcock and like not making a very good job of it, but kind of emulating Hitchcock, but emulating like 1950s Hitchcock. It felt very Rear Window, Vertigo.
I'll have to check it out.
The main woman in it is what's her name? Lee Remick, is that?
Oh, right,
person?
yeah.
I got the right name. So she even looks a bit Hitchcocky and blonde. You know, it's like.
Before you said blonde, I was just imagining her looking like she'd fit in the silhouette at the start of Alfred Presents.
So was Frank Sinatra playing John McClane, a character called John McClane?
He's called something else in the book, isn't he?
It's a different character. Yeah, it's called Joseph, I think, something like that. They changed it for Die Hard just to make it different. They didn't want to connect it to the other film in any way. It was just the same character in the book. They weren't bothered.
Part of my research told me that they were contractually obligated to offer the part to Frank Sinatra because there was some like clause in the contract, like if there was any sequel, you must be offered the thing. So yeah,
he had first refusal. Yeah. Which he did. I mean, he was in his 70s. So he's like, don't think I'm up for it, lads.
That would have been a brilliant film, though.
I think I would have enjoyed that.
Die Hard. It's 1988. Nobody wants to play John McClane, so they eventually get far enough down the list to hit on some TV sitcom actor.
Oh, really? Oh,
called Bruce Willis, who is primarily known for Moonlighting. That's the right name, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Sybil Shepherd.
With Sybil Shepherd. Now, it's a sitcom. I've never really seen it. It was a sitcom. But I think it's more kind of like romantic comedy, kind of drama-y sitcom rather than, the Big Bang Theory sort of sitcom. It's not quite that gag a minute sort of thing you think of. So there was a bit more dramatic acting involved. But yeah, bit of a gamble on all counts, really.
It was far more unusual back then as well for an actor to kind of successfully transition from TV to film. Nowadays, that's far more common, I think. But
now it's like the other way around. Film actors transitioning to TV.
Yeah.
But Marty McFly, he'd just done it.
True.
Hadn't he? Yeah. So maybe that was
maybe
was going on in the 80s. So yeah, we've got this untested action star and a basically complete unknown playing the main villain.
Yeah.
Well, Alan Rickman was an unknown.
Yeah. I think Alan Rickman
in film certainly. Yeah.
Alan Rickman's biggest claim to fame before this was getting cast in Red Dwarf, wasn't it?
Oh, well, this would have been about the same time, actually. Yeah, I think it was late 88 was when Red Dwarf started.
Yeah.
So.
Do you know about that, Calvin? Red Dwarf originally cast Alan Rickman and Alfred Molina as its two leads, and then maybe he got the notice that he'd been cast in Die Hard or something. Basically, they decided we want this show to run for as long as possible, and these two guys are gonna take off and be too successful, and we won't be able to make any more of the show. So they then just went with Craig Charles and Chris Barry instead. Not massively flattering to them, but Hans Gruber just blew a guy's brains out, man. Blood everywhere.
Is that Mr. Takagi?
Yeah.
But yeah, so Alan Rickman, I think it was his actual film debut. He's already in his 40s here, but he was a pretty well-established stage actor, as far as I know. It's just that he hadn't made that breakthrough into TV and film particularly.
Had he done that thing chasing Dawn French around the house in a really creepy way yet?
Hello? Sorry, of course, I mean aloha.
Do you live here?
You're Mr. Tinker, yes?
Canis Elenica?
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah, that's right. Go straight into the master bedroom, yeah. I was thinking of having that one, but of course we can negotiate the sleeping arrangements.
Oh, well, she is.
I'm not even sure what that is. But, okay, so how are we approaching this then? From the beginning?
I can't imagine anybody's listening who doesn't know the vague premise of Die Hard.
Well, it's Die Hard in a building, isn't
it? I mean, should we spell it out, or does it even need doing?
Nah,
we've got this far without mentioning it. It's not worth it at this point.
Yeah.
We should probably. I mean, it's a bit late for disclaimers, but another disclaimer. we are just focusing on the first film today. We're not going to get into the sequels, of which there are many. We are saving that for a future episode.
They're not Christmas films, so...
Well, the second one is.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's got snow in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's
never
more.
mind then.
It's more. Alan probably thinks it's more Christmassy than the first one with all that snow. Probably a big Christmas tree in the airport. It's been a while since I watched it.
Who's the baddie in the second one?
William Sadler.
Yeah.
Oh,
very generic.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, one thing that I kind of was found out in a little bit of research I did was that the script was not finished when they were shooting. I was listening to John McTiernan talking about it.
Typical.
They didn't have the ending worked out.
It's the same thing with Predator
when they started it.
Covered that recently.
I just like whenever I hear stuff like that, it just makes me just boggle at like how the industry works.
Yeah,
it's such a ridiculous notion. Like, why haven't you not got a fucking script?
It is, isn't it?
nailed
But
down?
it's weirdly commonplace in Hollywood nowadays. I don't know if it was that common in the 80s, but nowadays it happens all the time. But I think it's a product of all the big studios nail down the release dates 2 years in advance and think, right, we're taking Memorial Day weekend. That's ours for this film. And
yeah, I mean, obviously the film it had an ending because they were following the book, so like that was that. But then at some point they went, John McTiernan he was like, I don't want them to be terrorists, I want them to be robbers, and so he had to kind of make that work. And I think that's what they hadn't worked out. And it does mean you end up with some kind of sloppy loose ends.
Yeah, but for a complete arse pull, it's quite an admirable job.
Well, no, I don't think it doesn't make a lot of difference really in terms of because they don't get away. So it's not like I don't know. It's just, but one of those loose ends is Argyle, the limo driver, who picks up John McClane, and it helps to set up John McClane's character a little bit. We sort of explain why he's going to this place, and then he's just like, "Oh, I'll just wait around for you." Oh no, I don't know. He's connected directly to that. My point is that you get the fact that they hadn't really worged out what.
Oh
they were
right,
doing.
yeah. No, I agree.
Just
I've never
not
really
that specifics.
I've never really understood Argyle in the.
He gets lost a little bit. It's a nice little character, and that was the other thing as well that I heard in this interview, that basically that this actor they brought in just brought so much more character into this part. It was just supposed to be like, oh yeah, he's the driver, he picks him up, and it gives a chance to do a bit of exposition on John McClane. But because he brought so much more to it, they were like, oh, let's keep him. Like, we'll figure out something to do with him later. And then they were like, let's put in a scene where he's on the phone and he talks to him again. And that's it, really. That's all the justification you need, apparently. And then they tie him in at the end by getting him to drive into the guy who's getting away, and then like that was the kind of like, okay, we've managed to come full circle and do something with him, so that justifies it.
Bruce Willis has just killed the man that he writes "Now I Have a Machine Gun 2 Ho Ho Ho" on.
Ho, ho, ho. Okay. Oh, he was a henchman in The Living Daylights. I recognised him. Yes. Yeah. Can we talk a bit about Bruce Willis? Because it was watching this that I realised I really don't like him. Previous to this, I'd never had strong opinions about him, but now I'm just like, actually, I don't think I've ever seen him in anything where I've enjoyed him.
So that's him as an actor, or him as a person, or just all of it?
Oh no, actor probably. As a person probably as well, but I don't. I tend to avoid interviews that he's in. He's very dull.
See,
he does appear to be one of those actors that pretty much just plays that one character. You know, it's like he plays that kind of everyman.
Apart from when he's consciously playing against type, which he does do from time to time.
Yes,
I do like him in
Tom
Death
Cruise.
Becomes.
You know, it's like that kind of thing. It's
Tom Cruise is the same. When Tom Cruise is in Tropic Thunder, he's actually going to put an effort in to transform himself,
exactly.
But it doesn't happen often.
But we've seen Bruce Willis. We've seen him in likes of Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. He can do some nice, subtle bit of acting.
Yeah,
it's still very much a similar character, but he can do it. He's not a bad actor.
Yeah,
but I think I know what Calvin's getting at. It's not that you don't like his acting. It's just you don't particularly like the way he comes across, right?
Yeah, I guess. And it's hard in Die Hard when the character's such a conservative arsehole, which really irritated me. It's like he goes up to like the touch screens at the plaza, and it's like, oh, this highfalutin business.
Oh
and then
man, you haven't seen the second one, have you?
I did years ago. I've seen them all years ago. Well, not the most recent one.
It's a running thing in the second one that he won't use a fax machine, and everyone's like, for fuck's sake, will you fucking get with the times and use a fax machine, mate? And he's like, fax machine, why don't people talk anymore face to face, man?
This is a trope, and you see it in a lot of Michael Bay films. I'm pretty sure we talked about it in the Transformers reviews that we did, but this, like, when your hero's just this average guy and these people in suits with their qualifications, they don't know anything. It's, your average Joe who'll solve them.
That's why Rocky 1 and Rocky 4, isn't it? He went off and chopped wood instead of injecting himself with computers.
But then it's also like when he gets up into the party, there's a guy who comes up and kisses him on the cheek, and then he's like, whoa, California. And then his like whole point is like basically getting his wife to give up this great career that she's got because
I think because
old-fashioned.
The whole idea, they're really setting him up as this blue collar guy, this kind of everyman. Hey, I just, I have my lunch at 12:30. I have my dinner at 6. What more do I want? I got 2 beers every night. That kind of guy. They're playing with that idea because she's a career woman. It's like the 80s. This is the new American woman. And he's struggling to deal with that.
Exactly.
But he's not being an arsehole. He's not saying, hey, you can't do that. He's saying, well, I can't do it with you. And that's what's creating this distance between them, or a literal distance.
And I did like that if the ending was not her going off with him and he literally saves the day. She has this like fancy Rolex watch. He saves the day when the villain's like grabbed onto it. He unleashes it and the villain falls down with it. I mean, I don't think that's accidental.
I've got to say
the reason I think it works is because Holly Gennaro, the wife, never loses her strength. She never becomes, even when she's literally got a gun to her head and she's the hostage and he essentially has to save her, she always seems strong and in the moment. And in fact, like, she kind of helps push Alan Rickman away so that he can shoot him. She knows what's going on. She understands. She
buys time at a few points, from what I remember.
And then she smacks the reporter in the face as well. She's a strong woman. All this, and that's why it works. And I think that's why you can have that character who's a bit old fashioned. John McClane. He's a bit out of step in the 80s, but he knows he's got to kind of catch up
a bit.
And they make a point of him being old fashioned. Doesn't Alan Rickman call him a relic at some point? I'm pretty sure they make a point of him being a bit of an outdated man who isn't with the times. And I don't know if the film necessarily looks at that as a virtue so much as it's just something for, people can identify with.
Yeah, exactly. It's represented as something that's really normal and that most people watching this film will go, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, my wife's got a job as well.
I find it odd that you take issue with that, Carvin, though, because you are like the super fan of one of the most iconic sort of right-wing twat characters out there.
Hitler.
No, but that sort of light cuntiness that you're driving at is what defines James Bond, is it not?
James Bond has a smugness and a charm and a sense of humour beyond these touch screens and.
Well, so does John McClane. He's got a real sense of humour about what he's doing. He's got a little wit on him, little mouth. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker! That line's great.
That is a very good line. Yeah. No, it just I wasn't a fan, and I don't think that his support group, like the agents that are helping him, there's like one police guy who's like him. He's like a average Joe sort of guy, and
I don't dislike the character, but he also feels similar to Argyle to me. He feels like a bit of a loose tangent that got kind of lost along the way. It's a subplot. It does weave in, it does tie up, but it feels kind of separate to everything else.
The cop on the ground, so to speak, Al, I believe his name is. He's in the book as well, but I think in the book he's like a 22-year-old guy who's like a rookie or whatever.
Yeah,
it feels, they changed that slightly.
It really feels to me like this script, the one thing that could improve it is find a way to merge Argyle and Al basically into one character. Figure out a way to kind of make that work. That like Argyle alerts the police.
Well, they
or
definitely
something
could have,
like that.
because
Yeah.
Argyle speaks to him on the phone and he's listening to their radio chatter because he's got a CB radio in the car. They literally could have done that. Oh, I know Argyle's got a CB radio in the car. I can get through to him on this.
Because I think having the guy on the ground is his sort of eyes and ears of a sort. Oh, I love this bit. We just had the bit where he's trying to call the emergency services, and they're like, "Sir, this line's for emergencies only," and he's like, "No fucking shit, lady. You think I'm ordering a fucking pizza?"
Well, he doesn't say fucking. Come on.
No fucking shit, lady. Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
Yeah, and that annoyed me as well. Just
It's
this
great.
disdain for any kind of process and.
What do you mean disdain? He's like, this is a fucking emergency.
No, I made the same note. Like, because first of all, I'm like, why are they so like doubtful about this?
Yeah,
why
that's
don't they take this? Why are they
ridiculous.
taking this seriously as an emergency call? At least like go and look into it. But also, yeah, why don't he just go? Okay, my name's John McClane. I'm a police officer. Here's my number, so you can know I'm legitimate and you can trust me, or anything like that, or even just like explain the situation, like sensibly.
Al's buying Twinkies now, so that's what we're dealing with.
Well, you're 40 minutes in there because I made a note that he's 40 minutes in before he turns up.
Yeah, we have.
There's a similar thing when Agent Johnson and Special Agent Johnson come in, and I mean, just by their names, you're to know that they're not to be taken seriously.
I love that.
Yes, but I think this
Such a
one of the major
weird
weaknesses
joke.
of yeah, it is a weird thing. Isn't
I
it?
love it,
But
though. It's
one
brilliant.
One of the
I
major
like it,
weaknesses of this film, for me, are the cop characters. Al is okay, but then immediately you got his chief comes in and like, for whatever reason, is just a total dick, and is like, "Hey Al, PC Al, whatever your name is, why have you not gone in there and like arrested all these terrorists? Like that's what you should have done." Like just really unreasonable demands
Yeah,
and like
that's true. Yeah.
it's one thing to kind of bustle in and right, okay, you've done your bit now, we're taking over, and kind of push him to one side, but he sort of literally is quite aggressive, like.
Tell you why, Alan, because he's an LA cop and he doesn't like these fucking New York cops and how they operate. It's like Beverly Hills Cop all over again, isn't it?
But he doesn't even know at that point. And then you get the exact same thing when Johnson and Johnson come in and they take over and they're doing the exact same thing to him. And that just feels really weak. Those characters do not feel real at all. They feel like comedy cop characters. And when they Johnson and Johnson walk in, it goes root-doo-doo, root-doo-doo, root-doo-doo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just sort of like that. It's one of the few elements of the film where it really loses its sense of reality. In a film that is quite a ridiculous concept, I appreciate that. But like in terms of character, we lose that.
Yeah, I mean,
realness.
I think the film does a remarkable job at selling its premise elsewhere. I think that, you know, I agree with what you're saying. It kind of, it stops selling the ludicrousness of what it's doing as well when those guys are on screen. Absolutely.
I feel like it makes the only people we're to like, probably apart from McClane's wife and Mr. Takagi, are the average Joe guys, and everyone else, be you reporter, be you 911 operator, policeman, FBI, anything, you are smarmy and contemptible in some way.
Well, yeah.
I think even
but-
Hans Gruber is more likable.
Well, I was going to
than-
say, one of the most
Yeah.
likable people in the film, I don't know if it's intentional, is Alan Rickman's Hans Gruber.
He's brilliant.
And
Yeah, let's talk about Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
Because-
one of his finest hours.
Well, it certainly set up his career in terms of film. As a debut goes, it was pretty good.
He is
did very well out of it.
Fantastic film villain. He's one of the best like action movie villains ever. I'd say. Just fantastically charming. He's got a funny voice.
That's it. There's a saying, yeah. Oh, ding dong, ding dong. Oh, it's German Alan Rickman at the door.
Oh, hey, it's actually American German Alan Rickman. Oh no, don't hurt me. Oh my God.
You're one of them.
Oh God. Oh God. You know what? People always point to that as like, oh God, they found out you could do a fantastic American accent and then they wrote it into the script. And it's like,
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting, because I thought it must have been there, because up until the ending, you don't really get him and John McClane together in the same scene. And you need the villain and hero to meet before they have their showdown, so I just assumed it was constructed for that, but...
Yeah,
I think they.
I don't know how true that is, but
I think they were writing I think they might have met, but they specifically wrote he pretends to be a guest doing a fake accent, apparently, because
like
they
that.
found
It's
that
a really nice. It is a nice bit. It's a great way of getting them to meet, like you say.
Oh, that whole sequence is phenomenal. The way the power shifts back and forth, it is just so well crafted. It's so tense. I mean, that's a classic bit of Hitchcockian stuff, isn't it? It's the iconic shot now of Bruce Lee in the air vent, by the way.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty much the only bit as well where we actually see Hans Gruber like in a situation that not. I was going to say in a situation he can't handle, which is not true because he does handle it. But he suddenly finds himself like not where he expected. Like, with a gun in his face.
It turns,
and he immediately thinks of a scheme to get out of it.
It turns it into more of a kind of battle of wits between the two heroes. It's much more like a bit of a game of chess that they're playing rather than just who can punch each other the hardest. Yeah,
and because Hans Gruber is so calm and collected and everything's planned out to the finest detail, that's throwing him out of his plan panics him slightly, but he deals with it in another way. Yeah, and he's just like, okay, I approach it from this way. And he doesn't really get angry. There's a couple of moments where he's like, go and get my detonators or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but he plays it all very calm, this repressed rage. And it works really nicely. And also, John McClane is never like... It's all guns, isn't it? He never really like tussles and... Oh, there is a big fight sequence, isn't there?
Yeah, certainly near the end, yeah.
But it's definitely not... Even he is not. It's never going to be a fist fight between these two guys. It's much more like James Bond. You know, like James Bond might punch someone, but it never becomes rough and tumble.
Yeah, it's because Bruce Willis versus Alan Rickman. You don't get the impression that'd be much of a matchup. You feel like Bruce Willis would destroy him in a matter of seconds.
Alan Rickman would fight dirty, I think.
Yeah, kick him in the crotch and run away. But, yeah.
The character is really well realised of Hans Gruber. And it's... Obviously, it wasn't the first time it's done, but I think it's been oft imitated anyway since.
Yeah.
That sophisticated European...
Yes.
Like, which is, at the time was shorthand for kind of clever. And slightly suspicious. He's the sort of person who would play chess and listen to classical music, which they don't actually show him doing in this film. Which they
he does listen to classical music.
Does he?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, so I think it does owe a lot to Bond, like that kind of the sophisticated Bond villain, like your Christopher Walken or Christopher Lee, that sort of villain.
Well, that's why I brought up the thing about having them meet, because that's a trope of the Bond films, is that you always have Bond on civilized terms with the villain before they eventually have a scuffle and Bond kills them. So, yeah. I think his plan's quite good. The villain's plan, just while we're on the subject. And the twist that he's going to blow up all the hostages on the roof. I thought that was quite clever. I forgot about that twist. So
very cold as well. He really doesn't care about killing all these people.
Yeah.
In fact, it's kind of crucial to his plan to get away.
I think that's part of why the villain's so great. He's ruthless. It's not just a front, and he's actually a good guy. A lot of films would write in, he's just doing it because his daughter's dying of this disease and he needs the money, and he's actually a good guy, he doesn't want to kill anyone. It's like, no,
this is back when villains could actually
be
villains.
That one moment where Holly Gennaro goes, all that posturing and you're just a common thief. And he goes, I am not a common thief, I am a fucking exceptional thief. Yeah. Which is it's like one of the few moments where he loses control slightly. It's because everything's getting a bit hectic.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lovely little moment.
I love the scene where he's got the coked up colleague of McClane's wife is sort of thinking that he's, can be very clever with this whole
Yeah.
thing and talk McClane around and stuff. And you just know that Alan Rickman's going to kill him, but he's just like toying with him, and the guy just doesn't even realize it. It's just like a
Yeah.
cat with a mouse, and then he eventually kills him. And then I love that bit, like, we don't see him shoot the guy, we just hear it. And then the next time we see Hans Gruber, he's like running out with the phone to all the other hostages outside who are screaming. And I think it's a really cool shot from just like behind him of him holding up the phone, and so McClane can hear.
Yeah.
Really well done bit.
That's another great little supporting character as well. That guy, the cokehead co-worker.
Yeah.
Again, just bring a lot of character to a relatively small role.
Bruce Willis just threw a corpse at a police car, and the car's like freaking out, and now he's shouting, "Welcome to the party, pal," and all that. I love this bit.
That's a good moment.
Just how legitimately a freak out Alan gets.
Yeah, I did like that as well. Yeah,
Al gives us.
Yeah, Al. It's called Al.
Another element of the screenplay, I guess, that we should really give credit to, because we've spoken about how just economical and how kind of well crafted it is for the most part. But I think we've got to give credit to the amount of characterization that is just given to each. Obviously, I think a lot of it is casting and getting actors in that can do it. But I do think the screenplay's just got a great selection of bits of dialogue and stuff that really sells each character, or at least the key characters that we're kind of picking out as. Like that line, I am an exceptional thief. Just little moments like that are just really nicely done. They don't over egg it. They're just kind of, that's what this guy would do.
And so some of the other characters, Bonnie Bedelia as the wife, we've kind of discussed quite a lot. Very good, great, strong character. Really just doesn't get to do a lot.
Yeah.
But makes the most of what she needs to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We got of the other terrorists, the only one we get a lot of character from is the computer guy who's sort of hacking the security. He's definitely a loose end. No idea what happens to him at the end. Presume he gets arrested. He's never mentioned in the franchise again, is he? But he's the only one who survives. Everyone else is dead of the bad guys. So it would have been nice to just pull him back in one of the later films, or just like a little reference or something.
Yeah.
There are a lot of little comedy moments. One of the SWAT team, who's just an extra, like he's walking through a flower bed, catches himself on a rose, on a thorn, and like hurts his hand and goes, "Ah!" and like looks at his hand. Which must have just been a real thing that happened when the guy was walking through, and they've just thought, let's keep that in. That just feels like a natural SWAT guy hurting himself on a thorn. Little moments like that, and then like one of the terrorists is waiting for them to come in, but he's next to the confectionery stand, so he starts eating chocolate. Like these little moments where I could just see John McTiernan going, "Oh, do you know what we can do here? This will be really funny." Hee hee hee. And it's just like, it's not quite that funny, is it?
I still like those moments. It's like even when the terrorists first arrive at the plaza, and it's the two guys going in, and they're just talking like casually, like just like Americans, I guess. And then just so that the guards, the night watchman or whatever he is, just doesn't suspect. And as soon as they get up to him, they kill him and take over. There's a lot of little moments like that elevate this rather to being more than just a bland action movie. I think there's a lot.
And there's definitely a deliberate attempt at comedy in a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even John McClane, like a lot of his lines are comedic. When he's talking to himself quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it works. Like you say, it kind of it offsets what could be a very po-faced action film.
Yeah. I think it does a really good job of walking that line as well, because Michael Bay sort of is a good example of how you can go too far down the just making everything a joke kind of route, and it just becomes self-indulgent and just not funny and shit.
Because and then it's punctuated by like, "Oh, I just shot this guy because he didn't tell me what I wanted."
But then at the same time, you've got to have a bit of levity in there. It's I think it's the perfect balance of comedy and taking things seriously. Personally, for this kind of a film.
There was one little bit of foreshadowing that I liked when he drops the homemade bomb thing down the lift shaft and explodes the building, and then the cop like has a go at him, the chief cop guy, and he's saying, "Oh, there's glass all over everyone down here." And John McClane says, "Glass? Who cares about glass?" Which is obviously, this is before he gets his feet cut up.
Yeah,
with all the glass.
obviously he knew that M. Night Shyamalan was going to be tying up all these universes with the long-awaited sequel where he goes up against James McAvoy 30 years on.
Yeah, and then there's the other big action scene is where he attaches a fire hose to himself and has to jump off an exploding roof.
Oh, I love that.
Through a window.
That's an amazing bit of... Yeah, that's such a great action scene.
When he gets through and then the thing falls off the, the roller, whatever, and it starts slowly pulling him out the window. It's just how that is timed is just so perfect. It's, really good.
Now, we do get given the perfect happy ending in the policeman learns to kill again. Obviously, what we're all worried about. But yeah, Big Al, the policeman, because he murdered a child.
I was going to say, not just any policeman, a policeman who murdered a kid by accident.
Yeah.
Learns to kill again.
He was, he managed to keep his job, and that's fair enough. So, yeah, he learned to be able to kill again, which is a beautiful moment at the end of the film. And somehow it does manage to be this beautiful moment at the end of the film. You take it out of context, it sounds bizarre, but... Again, another one where I don't know if we quite got enough of his character to really care. It was just like this one conversation where they have a moment of personal contact, which is kind of the whole point of that character, is to give John McClane someone to talk to.
Apparently, Alan, this will surprise you. The German that the terrorists speak is sometimes grammatically incorrect. And in the German version of the film, they are simply from quotes Europe.
Brilliant.
I'm just reading the trivia. Turkey. It's Christmas, everyone. Wake up, everyone.
It's Christmas.
You're gonna have to play parlor games.
Oh, I love those. I play charades and Pictionary. Oh, that game where you put someone's name on your head, and oh no, actually, you ruined that game for me, you soul, and
me
people at university who I introduced that game to.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it Connor?
Because you put Scrooge McDuck.
I was going to say, wasn't it friend of the show Connor who ruined it for everyone by not knowing who Scrooge McDuck is, and then getting furious at the idea that he should know who Scrooge McDuck is?
No, it's when we got into levels where it was like the dog from series 2, episode 3 of Red Dwarf. That was the end.
All right, yeah, I might have ruined the game for you. To be Christmas game, everyone.
Ooh,
Die Hard 20 questions. Who am I from Die Hard?
Oh, okay, yeah, let's do this.
Okay. Are you German?
No. I've got 19 left.
Oh, right. Oh, I thought you were going to read as a quote or something.
No.
Are you American?
Yes.
Do you enjoy cocaine?
I mean, probably not when I'm in front of the camera, but yeah.
Do you work for the FBI?
No.
Are you a man?
Yes.
There's only one woman in the film.
Oh, but yeah, no, would have worked out really well if it said no.
Are you a policeman?
Yes.
Are you at risk of type 2 diabetes?
Probably not, no.
No. Are you John McClane?
Yeah. Good game with it. Merry Christmas, everyone. It's... you got there, what was that, 7, 8 questions? Oh, I'm up to the scene with the guy. Hans, Bubby, that guy.
Should we skip to the ending? We haven't done the big climax.
Oh yeah. So
good point.
At some point, the power gets turned off, the terrorists get into the vault, and then it's sort of revealed. Is that when they reveal their true nature?
Yeah, I think it's only just when they get into the vault. They've got the pretty big banknotes. Like, what is that? Do you have to, like, cut it with scissors or something to make it into proper money?
No, they're bearers' bonds, aren't they?
Oh. I thought it was, like, big money, like, that you had to cut with a guillotine or something. And I'm sure they've got machines in the Bank of England for these things.
No, it's just... I don't know, they're bonds. I'm not exactly sure how you convert that into sort of stuff you can spend at a shop, but it's...
Oh, I'm doing the premium bond thing. I signed up for it last week.
Premium James Bond. You know how when you get like a tenner and like it's slightly wonky at the top and there's like the bottom of another tenner on the top of your £10 note because it was cut at a slight angle and stuff?
No,
actually, yeah, no, I don't.
You've been getting very dodgy money then, I think.
Well, I was going to say, it doesn't happen like that, does it?
Oh, right.
I don't think... Well, I think they do print him all off and then cut him out. I don't know if they do it...
Yeah, but it's like a big robot that does it. It's not some guy with a guillotine like a primary school teacher awkwardly trying to chop them all out. Oh, do you know this, guys? Do you know where Bruce Willis was born?
Yes.
No.
Go on then.
Idaho.
No?
I don't know. Zimbabwe.
No, apparently Bruce Willis was born in West Germany. And his mother's German. So he's actually more...
Bruce, isn't it?
Yeah, he's more German than the villain of the film, who is, of course, British.
That must have been awkward for her. Having, he presumably took her to the premiere. She's really pleased with her son getting this starring role in a big budget movie, and we just see a countryman insulted on screen.
Yeah, grammatically incorrect.
I'm sure she turned over to the director. Nine! Excuse me, Mr. Tiernan. Another iconic shot when Alan Rickman falls off the building. That's great. Slow motion.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously it's like it's a green screen and you can sell that, but it's it still works, and it like having it in slow motion and the look he gives is perfect, isn't it? It's just a beautiful bit of I'm about to fall to my death acting.
Yeah.
Well, I hear that was actually another small bit of my research is that they told Alan Rickman, okay, on 3 we'll let you go, 1 and then let him go. So it was quite a genuine, because he fell quite a distance for that. There was crash mat, obviously, but yeah, apparently that's what they did to get that shocked reaction, and Alan Rickman was really angry afterwards.
That's good, though. I can see why he would do that.
Yeah, because there is a genuine look on his face of just horror.
Who betrayed me?
I'm going to fall this 40 feet now.
And then they cut to the exterior, and you get a classic like stuntman falling off a building, like a genuine there must be some sort of air mat there that's just out of sight, but that's still like a 200-foot drop or whatever.
Yeah,
ridiculous things that like good old fashioned stunts that you just don't see these days.
Because I'm used to those kind of bodies in James Bond films just being like a mannequin or whatever, and there's some, we're getting to a couple of Bond films actually where, you can just see their arms sort of like flopping around because they're just obviously like stuffed with pillows or something like that. But this one, you could really tell it was an actual human who was falling. It was quite impressive.
Do you remember in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince?
Oh.
They reference the end of Die Hard. It's really weird.
Oh, with Dumbledore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Snape, obviously played by Alan Rickman, kills Dumbledore, spoilers, and basically chucks him off the top of a building in the same way. And it's shot in the exact same way, same framing and everything as Alan Rickman's death in Die Hard. It's got to be an intentional reference to the film, but it just makes that scene that's meant to be really emotionally weighty. It just makes it really funny. It's like, oh lol, they're doing Die Hard. It's a very odd decision.
One last thing I want to mention is how much John McClane throughout the film just gets completely fucked. And by the end he's limping, he's bleeding all over the place.
I love films that do this. It's just like Evil Dead, isn't it?
Yeah, again, a bit more genuine than Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator, for example, kind of never really stops.
Or Bruce Willis, John McClane in A Good Day to Die Hard, for example. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the guy gets shot at one point as well, and it's still classic kind of Hollywood bullet wound that it just sort of means he sort of has a bit of a limp, and yeah. But at least they kind of feel like they're making that effort to show him that he's really been through the ringer and kind of screwed over a bit.
That's it. It feels like they're giving it its due.
How long is it supposed to be taking place over? Because it's only one night, isn't it?
Yeah, one night. Apparently, I don't know if it's this case in the book or what. Apparently, it was meant to be set over 3 days originally. So I assume that's based on the book. And then it was John McTiernan who was like, let's make it a one night jobby.
I thought it could almost be happening in real time, almost.
Yeah. Which would lend itself to that Jack Bauer, John McClane crossover. That I can never remember. Was it Bruce Willis who was desperate to make that happen for some bizarre reason? One of the stars was really into the idea. Do you not know about that, Calvin?
No.
I think it was Bruce Willis was like really into the idea of making a Die Hard 24 crossover as one of the sequels at one point, and it was going to be called Die Hard 24/7. Genuinely.
Oh, you're right. Yes. Oh, I completely forgot about this because they're both 20th Century Fox projects.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The only reason it didn't happen was that Kiefer Sutherland wanted to focus on making Jack Bauer 24 its own like film franchise at the time, because they were gearing up to make that 24 movie that never got made, or got made as a TV thing, didn't it? But that would have been just awful.
Yeah, that would have been really bad.
I've seen some pretty bad takes on Die Hard sequels.
yeah.
Should we? I mean, like we say, we'll probably deal with the rest of the franchise at some point in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They're
just a quick mention. It's lost its fucking mind, hasn't it?
Yep.
I remember really liking the fourth one.
Oh, I mean, you would, Calvin, you would.
Oh, okay. Well, is it not? I don't know much about these films. Is that not considered a good one?
The general consensus is the first one is brilliant. The second one is a complete and utter rehash, but a lot of people, myself included, think it's good fun.
I remember liking that one more than the first one.
The third one is usually pretty highly regarded, certainly amongst
fans.
I
didn't like that one.
Although I think it didn't do that well critically. The fourth one is generally looked down on by the snottier film fans out there, and it's pretty universally considered to be a betrayal of the franchise, and that it just turns John McClane into like Superman. But I think a lot of people also think it's pretty solid, like stupid action movie for what it is. And then everyone just agrees the fifth one's complete dog shit.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that the fourth one would be your favourite, to be honest. It seems quite in character for you. It's the glossy Hollywood action. I don't know.
I don't remember much about it, but I remember Justin Long's in it.
Yeah.
And there's a point where Bruce Willis drives a car into Maggie Q, and then they go into a lift shaft.
I thought, there's a point where he drives a car into a helicopter as well. I thought that's what you were going to
Oh, yes, I remember that bit. Yeah. What do you rate Die Hard, Sol?
You know what? I think this film is a tour de force in action filmmaking. It's a classic for a reason. It's every element pretty much works for me. I feel like we've been quite down on it, but that's only because so much praise is heaped upon it that it feels like we need to address the balance a bit. I do love it to pieces, and I think it's a very high quality bit of filmmaking. 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I mean, I enjoy it. I agree with most of what you just said there. I give it a 9 out of 10.
See, I don't know if I really came to appreciate it more after having our discussion. I'm not going to lie, when I was watching it, I was a little bit bored in places. And I think I had some criticisms. 7 out of 10 from me.
Oh.
It's nice. It's fine.
That's all right. I think, to say back at uni, you certainly didn't like it.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to go lower than that. So no, it's cool.
No, I was going to go 6, and then, but based on our discussion, I think I appreciate it a lot more and what it does, and yeah, it has no right being as good as it is.
It's definitely one of those films that you see it now, it's everything's copied it so much. It was it's kind of difficult to see it with the kind of wonder of the original time. Yeah.
Oh, that's a high rating for us.
But this would be your guys' favourite of those movies, that series. Okay.
Yeah. It, especially in its place in like film history now as well. Like how it did kind of launch a million emulators, really, and everything was Die Hard on a whatever.
I think this is very much a film that probably shouldn't have had a sequel. Doesn't really lend itself to sequels in the sense that the whole point is that this is like an everyman who doesn't go through this sort of mad shit every day, and you know it is like an extreme situation he finds himself in, and so to say that they should never have made any Die Hard sequels, in my opinion, I think they did a remarkably good job of making them good. I think it's a surprisingly good, consistent franchise in terms of its quality through the sequels. But I'll save that for more detail when we get there, I guess. But the last one was shite, to the point that I can't even get excited about this new one they're making.
Okay, so if you were going to do a direct sequel to Die Hard, what would you do?
In this day and age?
What hasn't Die Hard been done in?
Did I say in our Jurassic Park episode, I always used to say I wanted Jurassic Park Die Hard crossover. Die Hard in a Jurassic Park. John McClane gets shipped off to Jurassic Park. Be good, wouldn't it?
Does he have to shoot a dinosaur?
You got to pick a location. Go with that.
Generally, the people who are expert firearms, like tough guy sort of people, don't really do well in Jurassic Park films. They normally get killed.
Yeah, Bruce Willis is like John McClane isn't an expert firearms guy. He's an everyman. He'd be like William H. Macy kicking the. No, he'd be like the guy who's with William H. Macy who kicks the machine and gets the food out of it and then gets killed. So yeah, never mind. I mean, the thing with Die Hard was the first one set in a building, and it was this constant escalation in terms of scale. So the second one, it's an airport. The third one, it's a city. The fourth one, it's all of America. The fifth one, they go international.
Interesting.
So for the longest while, it was sort of like, how can we make it bigger and bigger? But I think
space.
Well, yeah. So Die Hard in space, certainly. You know what? Actually, that'd be nice in that it would be quite a claustrophobic little, because it presumably be like a space station, wouldn't it? So that could actually be quite nice, as ludicrous as it would be.
Well, I don't think that's too small. It's like Die Hard in a bathroom. It's
But then that's the thing. I think the thing to do at this point would be, right, we've made 5 films. The last one was appalling. It's been losing its way. Let's make one last film. Bruce Willis can just about get away with being this guy, like maybe once more, just about. Let's make one more to like finish it off, and we'll kind of go back to basics and do that thing of like, we'll do like a Jurassic World where we kind of just rehash the original film, but do it well enough that it works as a kind of, nostalgic treat for fans. I don't know. So I think you want to bring it back down to a small, claustrophobic, intimate location again. Did you see someone took out a page advert in the New York Times or some magazine like that a while ago, a screenwriter, to pitch their Die Hard idea and to Hollywood, and I think they did get some meetings off the back of it, not to make Die Hard, but to make something else. But their idea was basically, I think it was a prequel idea, but it was Die Hard in a prison, and it's like John McClane dealing with being trapped inside a prison riot, which I think would be a great premise. Something like that would work quite nicely.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't want to say that because it's this other guy's idea, but
it is better to keep him contained then. Like, that's a part of the formula.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Because you don't want it, when it gets too big, it just becomes like crazy, ridiculous Michael Bay action, and I think you want to kind of, what makes these earlier films work so well is the the fact that they are vaguely grounded. I don't know. What else is there? Die Hard on a cruise ship, but then they made Speed 2, so that wouldn't work.
Yeah. Die Hard on a bus is just Speed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's too small anyway. Speed's brilliant, but I think John McClane. He needs a big
Jan
enough.
Jan de Bont was the DOP on Die Hard, wasn't he? Jan de Bont he was a DOP, and then Speed was his first film as a director.
Oh right.
Oh, Die Hard in an old people's home.
Isn't that like Paul Blart 3 or something?
But yeah, he's old enough now.
Hasn't that been done? I could swear that's been done. There's like a comedy, like an episode of South Park or something. I'm gonna name. I've pulled up a list here of Die Hard in Right? Should we make a game of it?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you tell us it, and we have to figure out what film it is.
Oh, I like this.
I'll say right now, it's the Den of Geek article I'm using, so give him a bit of credit. Die Hard in a boarding school? I mean, you probably would have mentioned that before when we said
Halloween H2O?
Harry Potter.
No. Something called Toy Soldiers, which I've never heard of. Die Hard in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills Cop.
No. So these are all shitty action movies from like the 90s that none of us know. That's the problem with this. It's a film called The Taking of Beverly Hills.
No, I don't think of anything.
From 1991. Die Hard on an aeroplane.
Air Force One.
That's not this one that they've listed.
Snakes on a
The
plane.
film they've gone with is Passenger 57, but I can believe Air Force One is that as well. I haven't seen it. See if you can get any of these at all. Right. Die Hard on a battleship.
Oh, Under Siege.
Yes! Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah,
Under
yeah, fair enough.
Siege.
Steven
1992.
Seagal. Thank you.
Die Hard on a train. Under Siege 2.
Die Hard on a mountain.
Cliffhanger?
Alive.
Yes, Alan, cliffhanger.
Alive.
All right. Fingers on buzzers. Ready?
Right.
Die Hard on a bus.
Speed!
Oh, that was definitely Alan.
That was definitely Alan.
Okay, so 2 to Alan. Alan's winning. Die Hard on a train.
Under Siege 2.
It's Under Siege 2.
Oh.
Is that the film with Ryback?
I don't know.
Is that the one?
I don't know.
Is that the one where the guy from where Davy from uni used to send me the clip of this guy going Ryback and like someone shooting at this guy in an action movie.
Ryback's hitting the hostage cars.
I'm not sure.
Right, so that's 3-1. Is that right? 3-1. Die Hard in a sports stadium.
Oh,
Batman, that one with Bane.
I've never heard of this film, so I doubt you guys.
is it recent?
1995, so no.
Oh, no, never mind.
Something called Sudden Death. All right, Alan, I know you know the name of this film. Die Hard on an aeroplane again.
Air Force One.
No.
Snakes on a plane.
No. I mean, these might all be correct answers, but I'm looking for one specific film.
Ooh.
Would it help, Alan, if I mention that it got featured in an episode of the old Ricky Gervais show on XFM? I think the gift given away.
Yeah.
Carl Pilkington is.
It's not the fireman one. Ladder 49.
It's not Stephen King's Rose Red.
Rose Red. Oh God.
I'll tell you what I found when I was clearing up, Rick, because I know it's not a big movie this week. We normally give away a big movie. I was moving house this week, and I found a video that you're more than welcome to if you're a fan. No, it stars Kurt Russell. Executive Decision. I've got that to give away if you're interested. Executive Decision with Steven Seagal in a cameo as well. So I think it's on TV this week, Rick. So if you miss it this coming Friday, you don't tape it this Friday.
Well,
here it is on video.
Bring it in, because I think Carl's excited about that. I think Carl would like to win that, wouldn't you?
Great prizes there.
How about if you
Executive Decision. Die Hard in Alcatraz.
Escape
The
from
Rock.
Alcatraz.
The Rock. Well done, Calvin.
Of course, The Rock. Oh shit! Why did I not think of that? Damn it.
Die Hard in a prison plane.
Con Air.
Con Air. Well done, Calvin.
Oh,
Right, you're
I
drawing
said that
now.
exact same time in
Pulled
my
it back.
ears.
No, I think you're beating.
I definitely said it much quicker in my.
Die Hard. On the US president's plane.
Air Force One.
Oh, I think that was Calvin.
I said that exact same time again. Am I on a delay here or what?
Maybe.
No, I heard you say it later than me.
I said it about 10 minutes ago, so I don't know what you're on about.
All right, so Calvin's winning, Alan. You're gonna have to try and put this back. Right, fingers on buzzers. Die Hard on a cruise ship.
Speed 2.
Me too.
That was you, Alan. That was Alan.
Yay.
Oh, it's 4-all. All right. This is tense. It's like a Die Hard in a podcast right now.
Ooh, that sounds like a Kevin Smith film.
That does sound like a Kevin Smith movie. Yeah, there's Die Hard in an Alcatraz film again called Half Past Dead, but I'm not going to expect you to know that.
I would have got that as well.
Ooh, all right. Die Hard in the White House circa 2013, directed by Roland Emmerich.
Oh, it's
the
White
Eagle
House
has
Down.
fallen.
It is White House Down.
What's
phew,
the
I knew it
other
was
one
one
that's
of them.
exactly same thing? Eagle Down.
I don't know. It was. Yeah, there were two of them, weren't there?
Olympus has fallen. Olympus has fallen. That's what it was.
I think that's the good one, isn't it?
I don't know. I've seen one of them.
Oh no, White House Down is the good one.
I mean, that's everything on that list. So I think that means Calvin's one. Is that right? I think I have one more.
Let him have it. He needs it more than me. What about Die Hard in a Body?
Ooh, like the
Well,
Fantastic Voyage.
Yeah, or I know Inner Space is the one I'm thinking of, but he's not being attacked in the body. He's just in someone's body.
Ooh, you know what? Mentioning Kevin Smith before,
Yeah,
you know what his original sequel for Mallrats was meant to be?
Die Hard in a Mall.
Die Hard.
Yeah.
Paul Blart Mall Cop.
That is what it was called. It was called Mallrats 2: Die Hard in a Mall. Very similar to the naming convention he's used for his upcoming film Moose Jaws.
Moose : Jaws in a moose. Jaws in Canada or whatever.
But yeah, then Paul Blart Mall Cop did it, and you know what? It's weird we've never... Well, not we. Weird I've never seen Paul Blart Mall Cop. It feels like I should have seen that film. It's weird we haven't seen it, Alan. It feels like I should have made us watch that when we lived together in London, along with all the other, like... You know, I used to get us, like, dreadful films to watch. Like Little Man and...
My Five Wives.
Firehouse Dog.
Why don't you meet me for dinner at the Amazon Cafe?
Today?
Okay, just relax. Repeat what I say.
God, I hate cats.
God, I hate cats.
They're useless. Did you ever hear of a seeing eye cat?
Or watch cat? No.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Have we got anything else original to say?
Well, so what we're trying to come up with a sequel. So we need to figure out somewhere to put it. I say we get, because we're going back to basics with this, right? So we're going to get a classically trained British actor to play the villain, but they're going to do it as a foreign accent voice, funny voice.
What about Die Hard in a time machine? Die Hard through time.
And they go back to the first film. And see events from different angles.
Ooh, very
and
meta.
tie up some of the loose ends.
They love all that shit.
You know what happens to Argyle now, because
Put some postmodern.
he was busy helping future John McClane in the past.
Yeah, you get the computer guy who survives from the first film,
Yeah.
and he's going back in time. He's built a time machine. And he's going back in time to fix it so that he gets away instead of spending He spent the last 30 years in prison.
This is the thesis of it gets bigger every time then. So it's gone international and now it's gone transcending the third dimension,
fourth
the fourth dimension.
Yeah. Exactly, that's how it works.
I'd like the opening scene to be something like John McClane's like finally getting the hang of a fax machine, and then someone bursts in, like, John, the time machine. It's like, oh, damn it.
Can we get Joseph Gordon-Levitt in to play young John McClane?
So do you know what's gonna happen? You done all this already? As me?
I don't want to talk about time travel. Because if we start talking about it, then we're going to be here all day talking about it, making diagrams with straws.
Oh, yeah.
With like a dodgy prosthetic forehead on.
Oh, yeah, this is like Demolition Man, isn't it? Where you have to like the old-fashioned cop. We have to drag him out to because we need old-fashioned methods. And so they're like, look, this criminal has been sending us faxes. Nobody knows how a fax machine works. And he's like, don't worry. I know this. It took me 10 years to work it out, but I've got it now.
So no, we do need a new villain, though. The obvious thing is you have another member of the Gruber family coming back, which
Benedict Cumberbatch.
I was going to say, which I would love, but I think it's too obvious. You just want someone like Benedict Cumberbatch playing like a Russian. Who is the modern equivalent of Alan Rickman, Jeremy Irons?
Tom Hiddleston?
Someone who's kind of, their voice is kind of down here.
But yeah, probably came through like real legit theatre and did little indie films where there's lots of sex and stuff. And that sort of,
Michael
like,
Fassbender,
classy.
he's got a deep voice.
Yeah. I think he's a bit too mainstream already.
Yeah.
But definitely that kind of, like, yeah, he feels like he's legit somehow. Like he's a bit more classy. You need someone who's done Shakespeare, really. I mean, that's what you need. That's what you want.
The thing is, Michael Fassbender's actually got his German heritage and all that shit, hasn't he? So I don't know if I like that. I want someone who's not remotely German. What about let's get is it Daniel Bruhl? Is that his name?
Oh yeah.
Let's get him to play a British villain.
Too young. Oh right. That'd be good actually.
So basically, our conclusion is there's no more original Die Hard ideas.
Yeah, I mean it's impossible to do it well or properly. So I think the only way to do it is to kind of go full self-parody, self-referential, in which case you do in space or time travel.
Well, I like the time travel back to the original plot and go in meta on it. And you get someone like, a weird sort of someone who looks a bit like Bruce Willis then, but it's not quite enough, so they have to keep filming him in the shadows and like from behind and stuff. It'd be great.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think there's probably a way to just about make it work as like a proper, not that work, but to make like a proper Die Hard sequel work. I think you could maybe get one more out of it. But then I don't know, because I happen to think Die Hard 3 works really well, but it works really well because it's something completely new with
they reinvented it.
Character. It's not just Die Hard in an XYZ. It's completely different thing. It's just like Saw-esque, figure out these weird little riddles and solve things. So, you know what? I mean, again, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but one of the things Die Hard is notorious for is basically every time Fox has a leftover script like that they're developing and it's not going anywhere, Die Hard always swoops in and goes, "Oh, we'll make that. We'll just change all the names and call it Die Hard."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't Die Hard 3 was written as a Lethal Weapon sequel originally, I think?
No, I think it was originally just a standalone film called Simon Says, and then I think they started retooling it for Lethal Weapon.
And then it never happened.
And then it got turned into Die Hard 3. And Die Hard 4 was based on an article about like tech terrorism or something, how people could hijack computers. Like it says in the opening credits, like based on the Wired magazine article or whatever magazine it is, which is just weird. But I think that was being turned into a standalone action movie, and they just stole the film again. I think they've done that more than those two times. They're the two I'm aware of.
Well, the first film is, like you say, we sort of retooled from a novel.
And even like the second film was just retooled from the script for Die Hard. There's got to be a script lying around Fox now that we can just retool. Like maybe one of the Avatar sequels that they've written. What's
so you're doing Die Hard in space?
What do you reckon Fox have got that they're sitting on at the minute? They've got that Neil Blomkamp Alien film that they're not doing anything with. Let's retool
they
that. They
probably have a draft of an Alien vs Predator 3 somewhere.
Yeah. Alien vs Predator 3. There you go. Let's retool that. John McClane versus Alien vs Predator. They're all Fox properties. It'd be actually really good fun to watch him going up against Predator. Similar kind of concept. Yeah, no, I'm alright with that. Fuck it. Let's do it.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I think we've established we can't do this properly. So do a stupid one. But I'll tell you what, I was going to say it's set at Christmas, isn't it? So opening shot, there's a snowman, and Predator is like really confused because it's not showing up in the heat vision.
It walks straight into it.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that?
And the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go.
You know what, guys? Is this the end of... Are we calling it a day
Is
here?
this the end?
Because the
Is
film's
this the
just
end?
finished and the credits are rolling. So we've timed it
timing.
absolutely perfectly, if that's the case.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm,
I'm gonna look
that's pretty good.
Yeah, the film, 2 hours, 4 minutes in. I guess we should keep talking all the way till the very end of the credits and then just
Yeah, I suppose so.
get the full...
Oh no, I never stay for the credits though.
Baby, it's cold outside. Dun, 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 dun. We could sing that. I'm just trying to get us all to join together and to try and make this somewhat Christmassy. But maybe like Die Hard, this isn't really a Christmas special, and people will be debating about it.
I don't know, there's definitely been Christmassy elements to it.
I think it's been quite superficial.
I don't know, but was the
Christmas
true
elements.
spirit of it Christmassy?
We released it at Christmas.
Oh yeah,
Just
actually,
about
that
2
makes
days
it more Christmassy
before
than Die
Christmas.
Hard.
Oh, Eli to Will got a special thanks for helping make the film. Colour by Deluxe.
Not Technicolor.
No. Die Hard. Oh, we haven't mentioned, by the way, what an exceptional title Die Hard is for a film. It's a great name for a film.
Die Hard.
Well, that's it. It's like it barely really means anything, but it just utterly evokes the right tone and sense of what the film's about. It's great. I love stuff like that. Anyway, that's the end of the film. I've gone to the Denmark copyright page on the Fox DVD.
Anyway, I need to go to the toilet, so...
Alright.
Well, we can wrap up.
All this eggnog's gone
Wrap
through
up. Presents for Christmas.
Yes.
Wake up, everyone. It's Christmas.
There you go. We promised it for 3 years, I think, and we finally did it. Die Hard. Merry Christmas to the one, the only Tom O'Fallows who provided this episode's special Christmassy opening theme. Thank you once again, Tomo. Merry Christmas to all you listeners. Happy Hanukkah, Crazy Kwanzaa, Tip Top Tet, all that jazz. Next week we'll be doing our big review of the year 2018 roundup. So do come and listen to that, hear what we've thought of the films this year. And as ever, please tell everyone around Christmas what a great show this is. Tell them to listen and, go to the website, dimreturns.com. All this stuff. You know it. Thanks again for listening. Here's to yet another year of diminishing returns.
Christmas is the greatest time of year. But to enjoy it most, we need to get out of bed. It only comes round once a year. There is snow outside with some reindeer. Go to the window and then you will see Santa's coming down the chimney, putting some presents underneath the tree. And everybody knows it's Christmas. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. Your advent